Hello and welcome to episode 20 of View from the Sideline podcast. Chris here, and Rich is here as well.
Hi Chris, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Rich, yourself?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yeah,
But
can't complain.
it's been a bad week all around for you, I think, football-wise. I think today has just put the cherry on top, but we'll talk about that later.
I have no idea what you. I'll be keen to find out what it is you mean.
Well, you'll find out later. Anyway, what's
Okay,
coming
I
up
look
on this
forward to it.
week's podcast?
So this week, I'll be testing your knowledge on the teaser, Chris. Then we go on to the Premier League review from the weekend. We've got a summary of the EFL leagues, slightly different format this week. We're going to test out something a little bit different. Then in part 2, we will have an update on predictions as normal. So the weekend just gone with Jimmy as the guest, and then a look at the predictions coming up for this weekend. And then our special topic this week is around the new White Hart Lane. So I'm sure you've got your views on that, Chris. Obviously, as a Spurs fan, mine will probably be slightly different. But we'll go through some details and give our views on that. But I'll go straight into the and a bit of a I'm not sure what the word is anyway. But for Christmas, I got given a sports quiz pack, Chris. And this evening I've been going through the questions to try and find one that would be relevant for the podcast. Now, bearing in mind the sports quiz pack covers pretty much every sport, so there's even like bowls and curling questions in there, but I've managed to find one.
It's not like the 1950s bowls champion or something like that.
Well, no, it's football related.
That's good then.
So it's either going to be extremely easy or it'll make you think, and there could be a possible more than one option. So my question to you this week is, who was the goalkeeper for Arsenal during their undefeated season in 2003-2004?
There's an obvious answer, but then is the obvious answer not actually?
Oh, there you go. Big up the sports quiz pack from Marks and Spencer's.
That's a great one. Great, yeah.
That is, yeah.
Right, well, I'll have a think about that, and we'll move over to the Premier League review, and we'll start with the West Ham Arsenal game. So, well, a good full debut for Samir Nasri against his old club. Obviously, getting the assist for the winning goal. But yeah, I thought West Ham would be absolutely ecstatic with that win, and for the teams above Arsenal in the league, great news.
It was all about West Ham for me. I think everything about them was positive in that game. Just on Nasri, where I thought he'd retired. Where's he been? Is it? I'm sure I read he's been on.
He's been banned. I'm not sure what for drugs. I think it was a substance.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I didn't. I thought he was at Sevilla last time.
He was I
thought he'd gone. I was really surprised that he was at. Well, first, I was surprised he was. I was surprised that he's because I'm not sure the game he played was. But saying that, I did think he played pretty well, and I think he'll be a good signing for them.
Yeah. Especially for free. So,
yeah. I think the way with what's going on with West Ham at the moment, I mean, the main stories around Arnautovic going to, or possibly going to China, where it seems like he wants to go, but the club want him to stay.
Every player wants to play in China, mate.
Well, I mean, it seems a bit of a sideshow at the moment, but full credit to West Ham.
Yeah, I think
it's certainly one of those games that just shows you in the Premier League that even the mid-table teams, or I'm not sure if you call West Ham mid-table, but they can beat
they're there, aren't they? You know, they're there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, teams at West Ham's level, Everton, Watford, that sort of position in the league, they can beat the so-called Big Six, if you like, and I think they fully deserved it.
Just imagine if they played their first 6 games of the league if they would have managed to get 3 wins from those first 6 games, they wouldn't be too far off 4th place at the moment. So
No, absolutely.
yeah,
But they've got some players at West Ham like Anderson,
Anderson,
especially Declan Rice. I mean, I know he gets a lot of the plaudits from that game for scoring the winning goal, but I didn't realise he was only 19. Well, he's just turned 20.
yeah,
But he was unbelievable, and a lot of the interviews after the match, a lot of the West Ham players speak so highly of him that I think he's certainly one to look out for the future. And what it's like in the summer, everyone.
Yeah, they're still after the young
West Ham.
players, aren't they? Yeah. So
Yeah, I didn't think Arsenal were that great, but West Ham
not in front of goal anyway. We'll move on to the Brighton Liverpool game. It was quite an uneventful game, really, but you never actually thought that Liverpool were going to lose the game. It's just not really too much happened. But yeah, obviously the penalty decision.
I don't.
What were your thoughts on the
Blatant penalty.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been up and ahhing about it, but
I think the only thing that could possibly make was his reaction and the way he went down.
Yeah.
Thought he did go down a bit theatrically, but the defender, there's probably just an element of frustration that Salah sort of turns him a couple of times and then manages to get away, and he just sort of pulls him back. But there wasn't a lot of sort of complaints from the Brighton team.
Yeah.
A bit disappointing from their point of view. I agree with you. The game was pretty uneventful. I don't think Liverpool ever looked like they were going to lose, but their time in getting the goal, I wonder if there wasn't a penalty, whether they would have gone on and won it. But similar to the West Ham game, I think it just shows that it's such a competitive league that Brighton will give Liverpool a decent game, and it sort of takes a penalty to decide
Liverpool,
it.
this sort of Liverpool team, when they play like that, it does remind me of a few years back when Chelsea were winning games 1-0, ended up winning the league. I still think Man City are going to give them a good run for their money, but
well, it's probably something to come on later. I think City will still win it, but
yeah.
Liverpool, they are grinding out these results.
Okay, so we'll move on to the Burnley Fulham game. What a strike from Andre Schürrle. I saw an interview Garth Crooks put on there saying he probably would never see, you ain't going to see a better goal than that this season. Some effort from him.
Yeah, I won't disagree, but it doesn't really count for much, does it? I mean,
not now.
I'm sure. Well, no, exactly. I mean, I'm sure Fulham would rather stay up than win like goal of the season.
Goal of the season. They can put that in their trophy cabinet.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this stat, but Burnley actually won 2-1, but didn't have a single shot on target.
So that we've mentioned Fulham's defence before, but this week they want that extra step by actually scoring the goals for all the other teams. So
yeah, and there were two good ones as well.
Yeah,
for me, if Fulham have got any sort of chance to stay in this league, it's games like that they should be winning, especially the form Burnley have been on lately. Well, I'd say this season as a whole, really, because they have won their last 3 games, but the teams in and around they've got to be winning. So I mean, that win puts Burnley 7 points ahead of Fulham now. If you flip that the other way, I mean, they're within striking distance, but
yeah, Burnley in a much better position now, aren't they, than what they were?
They are, and you're not hearing anything. I don't hear any links with Fulham and new signings in this window, and that's
the thing. They spent a lot, didn't they, in the summer? So for them to
they did. And one thing, an interesting read, just quickly, an interesting read I found on Fulham this week is about how they've pretty much dismantled the side that got them promotion, and was sort of well drilled in the football style that they were playing, and they've pretty much just ripped that up, brought in all these new signings, and then they're almost like a completely different team, not just playing wise, like playing staff wise. The way they're playing is just completely
Well,
different. And I think
that kind of moves on to the next game, the Cardiff Huddersfield game, where Cardiff haven't dismantled their squad, have they? They've kept the majority of that squad is the squad that got them into the Premier League. So
yeah.
and proof's in the pudding. They are above Fulham at the moment. So but speaking of the Cardiff Huddersfield game.
Well, I think that's all you need to say, really. I
Anything
mean,
else to say?
for that's not
It's not
well.
a disservice to
There's
either
two.
the club, but it's a good point
Well,
for
it's
both.
not.
To be fair,
Well, I was going to say exactly the same thing, but I think the way Huddersfield are playing this year, I think Cardiff might be a bit disappointed with a point, and a point is no good at all for Huddersfield. But a point's a point for Cardiff. Obviously, I think the story after that game is obviously the manager leaving.
Strange one.
Yeah,
We speak earlier about it, didn't we? And
yeah. I mean, I know he wants a break from football, and I can kind of understand that. And I think, as we did speak about earlier today, I think I don't know if it's a nice touch or not, but I did quite like the way that the chairman came out and said that there was like an agreement that they wouldn't sack him because of what he'd done for the club and where he'd got them to from when he took over.
it's nice to hear,
But
because you wouldn't hear that from a lot of the other owners, would you?
no, you wouldn't. And I know in over past weeks I'm a fan of Huddersfield. I think, like I say,
we've said we like the way that they've played. It's just they've been fairly unlucky in some games.
I just think this year, I just don't think they're good enough. They haven't got anyone that's going to score goals, and
they are strong.
It's only the fact that Fulham are, well, at times this season have been equally as bad. There's only three points between them, really.
Yeah.
So not an eventful game, but I think it's the aftermath of what's come out is the story.
And I think that the problem now is that if whoever takes them over now, we're halfway through the transfer window already. More than likely, not going to be given any more money to put into the squad. So I would suggest whoever takes over that job is probably going to be managing them in the Championship next season, which is unfortunate.
I think that's the plan, though. I think that's almost got to be the plan, because if you're the chairman, I'm not sure you're going to go out and spend in Huddersfield sort of terms an awful lot of money to try and stay in the league and then drop out of the league with like a big wage budget and things like that. So I think it's almost planning for next season.
Yeah. All right. Well, so the Palace Watford game. It's not often you get to score for both teams in one game. So,
that could have been a teaser question.
Yeah. But it was, Watford probably should have scored in the first half. It was a pretty scrappy goal that Palace actually ended up scoring. And then obviously Tom Cleverley, who I actually forgot was still at Watford, obviously getting the winning goal. But the one thing for me was that Zaha did not have, I would say, his best game he's ever had for Palace, and that's one of the problems. When he's not performing well, they don't play as a team as well as they would if he was playing a lot better. Don't know if his head's in the wrong place at the moment or what, but
I'm not sure if he's expecting a move in this window or something. I don't know. Before the game, it was a close one to call, I think. But I think that you seem to forget where Watford are in the league.
Yeah.
So when they go to Palace and they win 2-1, or whatever the scoreline was, but they get the 3 points, you almost think it's a bit of an upset, or you weren't expecting that result. But they're 7th in the table. If you take out the top 6, and the top 6 teams are, I guess, who you would assume would be in those positions.
Yeah.
But they're the best of the rest. Watford
Yeah.
are, and you look at the money that West Ham have spent. You look at the money, especially that Everton have spent, and what Wolves have spent. Watford are above them all. So they're having a really good season, and they've got some good players. So I don't necessarily see it as an upset. I mean,
No, no.
it could have gone either way, but Watford are playing some good football.
Yeah, they are playing some enjoyable football, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Zaha. Obviously, we've got half the transfer window left. Um,
I'm not
I
sure
think
where I've got. I know
it's
we
just trying to
spoke.
fit him in somewhere. That's the problem, isn't it? It's not
Yeah, but
because
I remember when we spoke about it before and the teams he could possibly go to, and we sort of landed on Spurs and Chelsea. But realistically, are either of them going to put that sort of money into him in this window? I don't think they
they're going
will.
to want 50 at least for him, aren't they?
More than that.
You reckon?
If Callum Wilson's worth 50, Zaha's worth more than
Yeah.
that. It would probably end up in China,
Be interesting to
like
see what
everybody else.
So the Leicester Southampton game. Yeah, well, Southampton obviously at the bottom three now, which is obviously a positive for them.
Mm.
Must say they are playing a lot better. They seem to have a lot more faith in the manager. I think the players, and they obviously clearly know what they need to do on the pitch. The sending off though, um, eh,
That was
you,
coming. I mean,
you're
I've got to
1
be
up,
honest.
and then from a Southampton fan's point of view, you're 1-0 up, and then one of your players gets sent off.
Yeah,
Both clearly yellow cards as well.
yeah, but there was one just before his second yellow where you
But him
thought
and
he's living.
him and
He's
Chilwell had been literally like for the whole first half. They'd been at each other the whole first. They both got booked in just before he got sent off as well, didn't they? Because they were over by taking a throw in or something, and then they clashed there. But
But I think
bit
Chilwell
silly.
almost knew that. I think he knew
Yeah,
what was going to happen. It kind of reminded me of what people used to do to Costa when he was in the Premier
yeah.
League. And if you sort of push his buttons, he's probably going to lose it.
Young as
But
well, isn't he? That
he,
no,
yeah,
so,
he is. But I mean, it was just stupid. You could almost feel it coming that he was just getting involved in things that he probably shouldn't have got involved in. And they were two stupid yellow cards. I mean, at the end of the day, it didn't.
oh yeah, because
Well,
they
luckily, it
came
didn't
under 10
affect the
men, and then they
result.
literally went up and scored just for half time and 2-0 up. He came back out second half and just bulked the defence out a little bit more.
Yeah,
Leicester get one back, but to
they
be
look more
honest,
solid. They look more
yeah,
solid since Hughes left, and I think it must be pretty depressing if you're Mark Hughes to see them
oh,
playing
I
like that, and you think,
yeah,
why didn't they just do that
yeah.
for me? I've just got a quick question for you though,
Hmm.
that I was thinking about when I watched it. So first of all, I mean, it's about Shane Long.
Okay.
So I mean, if you're going to be completely skeptical, and it may just be me, but I don't think his shot was going in till it hit Michael's hand and
No,
then
I
went
don't think
in.
it was. No.
So okay, so that's one. But there was a stat that's come out about him where the last four goals that he scored for Saints have been under four different managers. What? How has he managed to stay there?
How's that
But
happened?
if you're sort of if you were the manager of Saints and he
Yeah,
scored one goal for you in the time that you'd been there, and bearing in mind that I mean I know Danny Ings has come in this season, but they had Charlie Austin, they had Gabbiadini,
he's gone,
who's
hasn't
now
he? He's gone,
yeah, but
Gabbiadini, hasn't he?
why?
Sorry.
I, it just I
He's
just
fourth
sat there and
choice. That's the problem. I don't think
yeah,
you
but
expect to always use your fourth choice, do you?
I sat there watching it and I think I can't understand how he's still there if that's his goal scoring record. Why did they not try and sell him? They might not have got much for him, but
Someone would have had him, I expect. He's got
yeah, but
pace. He's always been one of those players. He when he's running at you, he can be quite frightening with his pace. But I don't think he's great at getting shots on target. I don't think he does.
but
He
he's a
can run with the ball, but then he can't really do anything with it. I think.
right, but that doesn't answer the question. He's a striker, so you
Yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah,
say
yeah.
oh he's got speed, but when he gets in front of goal, his shot goes out for a throw in.
Maybe he should play
I
out wide
mean,
for a bit.
I I just wondered what your thoughts were on how
Uh,
he's managed to stay there when
I didn't know. I
sort of
didn't know that he'd scored 4 goals in the last 4 managers. That's poor.
everything you hear about him is how he hasn't scored
Yeah.
since
Just
like the
just
last
another
eclipse or something.
quick thing on Leicester. Claude Puel, he seems to come under a lot of scrutiny. Whenever Leicester lose, he seems to come under a lot of scrutiny, especially online, about his managerial abilities. But when they win, he's fine. So is he under pressure? Do you think?
I don't think he should be, but am I right in saying he was the guy that came in after Ranieri? Is that right?
Yeah.
So he was on a bit of a hide into nothing, really. They win the league. They're in a poor run of form. Ranieri gets sacked. I don't know
Oh,
whether
sorry, no.
fans.
Ranieri got sat, and Shakespeare took over, didn't he, for a little bit?
Oh yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
sure he
okay.
got given
But
they won a few games in the season, and then they gave him a job for about 6 months.
I don't know whether they
Mm.
expected him to take them to the heights they were
Even
already. But
Southampton fans weren't that keen on him, were they, when he was there?
well, the grass isn't always greener. If you look what they ended up with, I mean, they look okay now, but if you had Puel or Hughes, who would you rather have? I don't think he should be under pressure. I think it's just expectations.
Just sort of nine. That was all.
I think he's an okay manager.
Okay, so the Chelsea Newcastle game, yeah, good win. They did, obviously Chelsea had to fight for that win. Newcastle, they were hard to break down at points. But Chelsea again playing with that false nine. I think it works sometimes, but when we're out wide with the ball, it seems like we have to work the ball in the box to actually create a chance. We've got no one in the box to put a cross into because Hazard, Pedro, or Willian aren't going to be able to get on the end of headers against centre backs. So but two really good goals, I must say. Like Pedro,
I think that formation works against a certain type of opposition for Chelsea.
yeah,
Personally, I mean, Newcastle aren't in great form. On paper, Chelsea should beat them quite comfortably. I mean, I think it was probably a bit closer
well, yeah, it
than
wasn't
a
at
lot of
the
Chelsea
stage as
fans would
well.
have
So
liked. But I think, if anything, for me, that just shows how heavily reliant Chelsea are on Hazard. If he's not on form or if he's not playing, I think they're just a completely different
yeah.
side.
But Pedro,
Um,
but Pedro and William both scoring.
Yeah, but,
That's-
my next point was going to be about the window, and there's a lot of rumours about Chelsea. And I actually read something today where apparently either one or both of Pedro and Willian are going to leave. So, I mean,
yeah.
I know it's rumours, but you kind of think that there's almost.
Well, yeah, they've got this new guy coming in at the end of the season, haven't they? Once he comes back, that Pulisic. So
But
he's definitely going to take one of their places.
it all depends on Hazard to me. If he goes, then it's
Mm. Well,
trying to replace him.
say they
But
keep Hazard. The problem is between Pedro and Willian, Pedro scores more goals, but then I feel Willian's more dangerous when he's on the ball. So it's just one of those things where
I think Williams a much better player. If
yeah,
I had to pick one of the two to keep,
I
it
think
would be
I
him all
would
day.
pick Willian, but Pedro's one of the best careers I think you can probably ever have in football. So,
Well,
but Newcastle were quite sloppy at the back for the first goal. Ball over the top from David Luiz. Pedro brings it down over the keeper 1-0. So,
mm,
but yeah, no, that's enough on that game. I was happy. I was happy with it anyway. 3 points. I can't complain. Arsenal lost, so a 3 point gap turns into a 6 point gap. So happy. Next up is the Sunday game. So the first game was the Everton Bournemouth game. Two teams I would say are kind of yo-yo teams where you can never really tell who's actually going to come out on top. You don't know what team's going to turn up. Obviously, on Sunday it was Everton that turned up the better. But for Bournemouth now, where do Bournemouth go from now? But it just
well, I think it depends on where
their
you think that.
their
It depends on
position
where
isn't
you
too
think they
bad.
should be.
Yeah, but
But
it's it's the start of the season that they had.
Well, I
you know,
think that's what's masked it a bit. I think because they did start the season so well, there was an expectation that if they could maintain it, but if being a big word there, but I mean they've only won one of their last five. I think I mean, they probably are where you'd expect them to be. That
yeah,
they're far enough away from relegation that they're not going to be in danger of going down, but they're
third best
too
goal
far.
league as well. 42 goals they've conceded this season.
Yeah, which is a lot,
Yeah,
and I think it's that their form lately hasn't been great.
it has
Um,
dipped.
I mean, obviously they lost 5-0 at Spurs and 4-1 at United,
Probably
and
just
then 3-3 Bournemouth. So I mean, there's a lot of goals in 3 games they've
yeah.
conceded, but I think they're there or thereabouts. I'd put them between 10th and 14th at the
Was
end of the
yeah.
season.
It
I
was
know it's a
it
bit
was a
broad,
pretty
but
even game, to be honest. They both similar possessions, similar shots on target, but Everton just they managed to edge it with goals. Kurt
mm,
Zuma getting a goal, which is quite nice to see. I'll see one of few Chelsea players out on loan this season. Interesting to see what's going to happen with him come next season. Actually, Zuma, I think
I
he
think
was
he's in.
always
I think he's all right.
he
I'm
was
going to
always
say the
hyped
same.
up, but
I'm going to say the same thing about Everton. I'll probably upset some people. I find them boring. I really, really do.
they're not the easiest team to watch sometimes.
No, I just think it's kind of like it. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what to say about them
Just
anymore.
they
I mean,
sometimes they just
they
mould
won
through
at
the
home,
game.
but yeah,
Uh,
they almost plod along,
yeah,
and you can be pretty sure that. Um, I mean, they're away at Southampton next week, which isn't an easy game, but you can be pretty sure they won't put in a performance, and then they'll end up losing it because that's kind of how they are, really. But yeah,
they got the better goal difference over Leicester, Watford, and West Ham. The teams above them have another +2 goal difference, and all the other teams. Leicester have got +1, Watford 0, and West Ham -2.
yeah. But I
They've
mean,
got better goal difference as
yeah,
well.
but that only takes a game, and it's back round the other way, isn't it? So,
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
mean,
a bad game, but it's just two teams at the moment that I don't think are that interesting. Bournemouth at the start of the season they were quite exciting going forward. It just seems like the brakes are on at the moment, and they're just not getting the results that I think that they're
no, I mean, I
capable
think
of.
they're
But
they're probably in a bit of a rut. I'd say they are underperforming.
anyway, well, the next game, the
I don't know
Tottenham
why
Man
you're
United game.
laughing.
Right, so I will admit I messaged you on Sunday. I was winding you up.
I,
It's clear to see that Tottenham were
I'll give you
not
my summary if you want, Chris.
gone.
I'm not going to dwell on it. Spurs lost. That they're going to lose other games between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think your comment about they have nothing up front was probably
Well,
a bit uneducated. I
speaking of
think that,
speaking of that now, you know,
but yeah, but I do not think that we are solely. Obviously, Harry Kane is a big miss, and
2 months. That's a
he
long time to be
yeah,
out.
but I think that's precautionary, isn't it? I mean, I don't think he will actually be out for 2 months. I think it will be quicker than that. Every time he's had this similar sort of injury, he's come back sooner. He had a few. He did have some good chances on Sunday, but I'm not taking anything away from United at all. But from a Spurs fan's point of view, I was a bit disappointed with Lloris. I think he could have kept Rashford's shot out. Um, I mean, he didn't hit it that cleanly. So I think I'm not saying he made a mistake, but probably would have expected him to save that. But the fact De Gea made more saves in that one game than he has in any other game, at least this season, it's probably for a long time, just shows how I thought Spurs were very dominant in that game. They just
Yeah,
couldn't
they were.
score.
Yeah.
Um,
De Gea had a
I'm not taking anything
amazing
away
game.
from United at all
Mm,
because they won the game. It's the scoreline that matters, as well as Spurs played in as much pressure they put on them. I I I would, if I was going to say there was a fair result, I'd probably say a draw would be a fair result.
So
But
you've got, yeah,
United are on form. That's their sixth win in a
definitely.
row. What are you going to say? It's not.
I wouldn't
I
want to
mean,
be
I think
facing them at the moment.
that there was a stat before the game. I think it's the first time Spurs had won the last 3 or 4 league meetings, which is the first time that's happened, like since Earth was created or something ridiculous like that. But so I'm not I'm not dwelling on it. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got Fulham away next week, and even
You've
if
got
Harry
three.
Kane,
Haven't you got three home games like coming up in a row?
yeah,
You've
we've
got
got
Fulham away, and then you've got Watford,
Fulham,
Newcastle, and Leicester all at home in the
yeah.
league.
But you've got to think. I mean, Llorente, he's not our first choice striker.
Can't wait for him to play up front.
He's never going to be. But we've got Lamella, we've got, I mean, Son's away, but we've got Lucas, we've got enough of an attacking threat that we can probably get through the games we've got.
Haven't got overly real diff. You have got Chelsea twice because I think they were on about him maybe being back for the Dortmund second leg of the
Yeah,
Dortmund
but I
game, the
mean,
Arsenal game
but
before.
it is what it is. It would be no different if Chelsea lost Hazard, or if Liverpool lost Salah, or if
I'd be
City lost.
panicking,
Well,
mate. If Chelsea lost,
it
I'd be
doesn't really
panicking.
it don't really matter with City, does it? Because they've just got
Mm.
players everywhere. But I mean, I read today that Spurs apparently are going in for a loan bid, a loan offer for Malcolm from Barca.
Yeah,
So you
he
kind
was
of
the
think,
one. Yeah,
but he's not an out and out striker. But
mm.
anyway,
He's the one that Barcelona were trying to palm off to Chelsea as well for William. They were trying to
well,
do a swap
no,
deal
there you
then.
go.
Anyway,
We may
quick
even go even for Morata. I don't know.
quick note. Man United, Solskjaer. Do you think he'll get a permanent job there, or do you think they'll still look
Yeah, I
elsewhere?
think he will. I think he will. And I won't even get started on the Pochettino, what they're saying about him, and he failed his audition and stuff. It's one game.
Mm.
It's one game.
I think bringing back Mike Phelan as well, Man United. I think
Yeah,
that's
but
probably helped. He's bought people. He's got people there now that are Man United through and through. I think
yeah, but
that's going to
the,
help.
the last thing I'll say on it is if you think when Mourinho was there and every conversation that was had about United was they were underachieving, they're such a
Yeah,
big club, they've got all these world class players. Mourinho's the problem. So it kind of played out that Mourinho was the problem.
yes.
Now he's gone, but now he's gone. United are playing how everyone expected them to play.
Yeah,
So I don't know what the big surprise is. Um, you can say that he's had Spurs were the first test and the other 5 games. You've got to beat who's put in front of you. So there's no shame in losing to them. So people can,
I
all
think
the
they'll get it.
United fans I know, including Hunter at work, he can he can mock all he wants, but there's no shame in it. There's no shame in losing to
Okay.
him. Man City Wolves.
So Man City Wolves. The game was over in the 19th minute.
Yeah.
when you're 1-0 down against Man City, the last thing you want to do is get a player sent off, and they did exactly that. Now the sending off, I personally feel it was a sending off. I think when you slow it down, I think you can see why he sent him off. But he made I thought he made a good decision.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
he wins the ball, but
But there's
his
ones
leg
in
is
every
up.
game. I know that there was a contentious one with Pogba on Dele Alli in the Spurs game that a lot of people thought should have been a red, but it wasn't. But I'd say it was a sending off. I think the thing for me about that game, if I think every game City play now, especially for City fans, there's going to be a nervousness because if Liverpool keep winning, the pressure's really on City to then match the result or better it if Liverpool
Because
were to drop
he didn't
points.
start Aguero either, did he? Aguero came
No,
off.
he didn't, and I
He came
think
on, sorry. In
you'd
second half.
almost expect City to win that game, but they did it comfortably. There wasn't really any drama. I mean, the sending off helped. I mean, Wolves they're in pretty good form, so they could have been a risk that there could have been an upset.
Just,
But
just a joke, innit? Look, They bought Man City substitution second half. They took off David Silva, Leroy Sané, Gabriel Jesus, bought on De Bruyne, Gundogan, and Aguero.
Yeah, well,
It's just
it's
insane,
crazy.
isn't
I mean,
it?
and even Liverpool, top of the
Crazy.
league, they can't turn over that sort of quality
No,
of players from their bench. So
Man City have I think one of the best teams in the world. I would say.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But
But yeah, 3
yeah,
points for them. They'll move on. They'll continue putting the pressure on Liverpool, and it'll just make for an exciting
yeah.
run in.
I do think that Man City will probably still. I know Liverpool are in a good position, but I don't know. I just think Man City have got the squad for it. To be honest with
Yeah,
you.
I agree. I think City will still win it, and that's nothing against. If Liverpool win it,
No.
they thoroughly deserve it. But I
Yeah.
just think we may be proved wrong, but I'd still go for City.
Yeah. Okay. So well, that was the review for the Premier League. So now we are going to move over to the EFL and the Championship League 1 and League 2.
Yeah, so in the Championship, the top two both won. So Leeds stay top, but Sheffield United. Yeah, well, whether they deserve to win or not is a different story. And Sheffield United are now up to second. Norwich could only take a point against West Brom, so that was third against fourth. Middlesbrough are up to fifth after winning on Saturday, and Derby dropped points in the Friday night game against Leeds. Just quickly on the Spygate thing, I kind of feel it's been blown out of proportion a little bit. I've heard a lot of talk this week about it's not actually that uncommon.
Oh,
I think
he's saying even Pochettino came out and said that in Argentina they do it all the time, don't they? So
yeah, but there's also because there's a bit of there's a bit of a backstory with Lampard apparently, because there's something with when Villas-Boas was on the coach was a scout at Chelsea when Mourinho was manager. Apparently, he's come out and said he used to do it all the time. So
there's
obviously
no actual. Is there
with the
actually a
Lampard
rule in
link.
the? Is there an actual rule to say that they cannot, or is it just
Well, I don't know, but
sportsmen?
I thought the guy got arrested. I don't know if he got arrested for trespassing or what it was, but I think he got carted away in a police van. But I mean, realistic, I don't know what they're going to learn
You
from a
can't.
training session. But anyway, but yeah, so Derby dropped points in that game, so they're down to sixth. Just to pick out some other teams, so Bristol City won again, which was their third win in a row. And Hull City, without a doubt, are the informed team in that division. So they got their sixth win in a row, and they're only 4 points off the playoffs. So they must have had a shocking start to the
I don't know
season.
because they were down bottom five. I think
Yeah,
literally about 7 or 8 weeks ago. I think they were.
So they're only 4 points off the playoffs. So they've definitely got the
Have they
momentum.
got Nigel? Is it Nigel Atkins? Is he their manager? I saw Sky Sports News interview with him, and he was Hull City manager. I'll find
It
out.
might be.
I'll find out. You continue.
Yeah,
I'll
let us
find
know.
out.
Rotherham, they lost their fourth game in their last five, so they sit just above the relegation zone, which does give some hope to the bottom. Well, it's the bottom four. No, it's the bottom three in the Championship, isn't it? What am I talking about? So two of the bottom three actually won at the weekend. So Reading and Ipswich both won.
Ipswich won.
I think the Ipswich one's more of a surprise. But the other team in the bottom three, Bolton, they lost their second game in a row and they remain on 22 points. But Ipswich are now, I know it's only one win, but they're now only 7 points adrift. So maybe it's not all over yet. I mean, the chances are pretty slim, but they won a game. So I guess that's something to build on anyway. So in League One, Portsmouth are still top. They're 4 points clear despite losing at home to Blackpool. Second and third, so Luton and Sunderland, they played out a 1-1 draw. I guess maybe both sides will be a bit disappointed because they failed to take advantage of Pompey dropping points. Charlton, Barnsley and Peterborough, who are the three other teams that make off the playoff places, they all won. So they kept the pressure on the automatic promotion places. After the weekend, there's now only 10 points between first and sixth, which isn't a lot really. So I guess
No.
it's anybody's game who's going to go up automatically. And the 4 playoff teams, they seem really evenly matched in League One. At the bottom, good news for you, Chris. Bristol Rovers kept up their good form, picking up a point, meaning they're now unbeaten in their last 5 games.
Still in the bottom.
No, just outside. It was only Plymouth out of the bottom 4 teams won at the weekend, so they stretched the gap to 4 points ahead of bottom place Wimbledon. But Wimbledon did pick up a point. Oxford and Bradford make up the relegation places. And there's only 7 points which separate Shrewsbury in 18th and Wimbledon in 24th. So again, that's really tight. So it's tight at the top and bottom of that league. So that's your Championship and League One summary. A bit different this week, rather than going just through the top teams and their scores, just to give you a bit more of a
Nigel Adkins is the
broader view. Oh, there you go.
Anyway,
good guess. So League Two.
Yeah, League Two, top side Lincoln drew with Swindon 2-2. Actually, Lincoln only finished the match with 9 men as well. So Swindon will probably be a bit disappointed with that one, that they didn't get a win. So Lincoln went a man down in the first half and then ended up scoring twice before half time. So they're actually 2-0 up with 10 men on the pitch. But getting another man sent off was a bit of a stretch because it ended up 2-2. MK Dons, who were second, are actually now third because they lost to Bury 4-3. Quite an exciting game, that one. MK Dons were 3-1 up in that one and ended up losing. Obviously to Bury, who have actually leapfrogged them in the league now. So there's that one. Mansfield, who are fourth. Now, after our whole topic on Yeovil last weekend, they actually won a game last weekend. So they beat Mansfield, who are in fourth as well. So it was a good win for Yeovil. Mansfield down 10 men, but he was sent off in the 90th minute. Colchester, Carlisle and Forest Green are the other teams that make up that the promotion playoffs. Carlisle actually lost 3-0 to Northampton, which is their first loss in 7 games, which is odd. So, from winning 6 games in a row and then to losing 3-0. Forest Green only drew, and Colchester beat Port Vale 3-0. Then moving down towards the bottom, Notts County, who are the bottom team, lost to Cambridge 1-0. But Macclesfield, I tell you what, Sol Campbell, he's a magician. They've won again. They won 2-0. They beat Grimsby by 2-0. And I did see in the BBC website today that Andy Cole is joining him as a coach.
Yes, the attacking coach. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Well, is it? One of the highest ever league goal scorers in the Premier League.
But I don't know. I don't know why the lower league sides don't look at these players that are ex-players that if they've got their badges, I mean, they've got the experience, that they just give them a shot. I mean, I think, Sol Campbell's proven it. It's worth a shot.
No, definitely. Well, Macclesfield at the moment in the last 5 games, they've got 7 points, which is a huge improvement to what they had been producing. So yeah, but like I said, Yeovil just above the relegations. Obviously, that doesn't help Yeovil because Yeovil would have slipped into the relegation zone if they hadn't won.
Are all the problems at Yeovil now over that they won?
Yeah, crisis.
Is everything okay? Right, okay. So the manager's like getting a bus parade.
No, nowhere near, mate. They're 3 points off relegation. They have got 2 games in hand, but it's pretty close at the bottom. So Macclesfield in 23rd on 24 points, and then Cheltenham in 18th. They're on 29 points. So there's only 5 points from 23rd and 18th. But you saying in the top of League One was close. Lincoln are on 52 in first place, and Tranmere are on 42 in ninth. So the 10 points only separate the top 9 teams. And
it just shows in those leagues anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, the playoffs is just You got Bury second, 49, MK Dons 47, Mansfield 46, Colchester 46, Carlisle 45, Forest Green 44, Exeter 44. It's very, very close.
Mm.
So, but there is a bit of a divide in that league. 18th and down seems to be where the teams are more than likely gonna get relegated, unfortunately, and hopefully one of them not being Yeovil. But I know there is a game tonight in that league, Mansfield versus Crawley, and that is currently 0-0. So yeah, that was League Two. So that is the end of our of the first part of the podcast. We are going to be back in the second half with predictions, the teaser answer, and we're going to have a good old chat about Tottenham's new stadium. So we'll be back in part 2.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of View from the Sideline podcast. So in part 2, we have our special topic this week, which is about the new White Hart Lane, so Tottenham's new ground. So we're going to have a bit of a chat about that. But first of all, just give a quick update on the predictions challenge from the results from the weekend just gone. So Chris came in top with a score of 15. Which is probably about average.
Yeah, not
Jimmy,
doing much better than that recently. So
no. Jimmy was our guest last weekend. Unfortunately, he only got 5, but it's better than 0.
Yeah.
And I was second with 10 points. This week, we've got Neil as our guest predictor. Neil's an Arsenal fan. So just to give you a sneak peek, he's
what
gone
are you
for
letting Arsenal fans on this week? They're playing Chelsea this week.
I know, I know. That's why I did it. So you've gone for a Chelsea win, I've gone for a draw, and Neil's gone for an Arsenal win.
Well, we've all gone diplomatic on that one, then, haven't we?
Yeah, so one of us will be right.
Someone needs to get a high score soon, because
well, I
we've had the same leader for a while, haven't we now?
Yeah, I was just going to say with Jimmy's score of 5, he hasn't challenged Jamie at all at the top. So yeah, that's the predictions. So we'll get the full predictions list for the weekend out on social media tomorrow, and then we'll post the results after the games at the weekend. So we'll move on to the special topic. So I'll probably start. I've probably got more of a vested interest and probably more of an unbiased view than.
I'm coming this in an unbiased way. I don't know too much about this.
Than a jealous Chelsea fan, because who has a dilapidated ground. Anyway, so it's delayed, as we all know. So Spurs are yet to play in the new stadium. So the current line is that. So there's a statement on the club's website which basically says that there's been some remedial work going on over the past month. There's software issues that have been resolved, and there's some work around safety equipment, and ongoing tests have happened. So they're still testing elements of the ground. And they're liaising with contractors and building control at Haringey Council to determine a schedule of commissioning, building tests and building control sign-offs. So in a nutshell, Spurs' home fixture against Leicester on the 10th of February is definitely at Wembley. So that's already been announced. And then also with the FA Cup, so if Spurs were to beat Palace and they were to get a 5th round home tie, which would be the following weekend, to the 16th and 17th of February, that's also going to be played at Wembley. So that then takes you to March. So then we've got Arsenal at home on the 2nd and Palace at home on the 16th. Nice, so yeah. So I wouldn't hold out much hope of it being done then anyway. But so that's where it is. So that's where it is at the moment. So I think from especially from my point of view as a Spurs fan, I'm getting a bit tired of playing at Wembley. I think that because the stadium's there, because it's been built. I mean, the goalposts are up. You're kind of thinking, why can't we just move in? Because it's constantly being delayed. I think.
You've had people go in there, haven't you? They've had they've
Yeah,
had tours of the stadium, haven't
there's
they?
been like a testing event for fans and stuff where they've had a look round, but there's a couple. I mean, so there's two things. So just when you actually read, I mean, there's a 15 sort of 16-page document that's available on the Spurs website, which is kind of like a guide to the stadium. And when you actually do it, I mean, it sounds unbelievable, but I'm just going to give you a few facts. So capacity of just over 62,000, which is nearly double of what the original White Hart Lane was. And I think it makes it it's the third biggest ground in the country or in the Premier League. So I think it's only behind Old Trafford.
Is that more than what you've been getting at Wembley, or is that less?
Well, it's capped at Wembley at 55,000 now.
It would be more.
It will be more.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's got a retractable pitch. It's got 60 food and drink outlets, one of which is a 65-meter goal line bar, which basically goes the width of the pitch at one end. Bars and food outlets will remain open after the game. Turnstiles allow entry through your smartphone. It's got its own microbrewery on site.
A microbrewery? What have you got? So it brews its
own beer. One of the stands, which is the South Stand, is the largest single-tier stand in the UK, and it's under 5 meters away from the pitch. High-density Wi-Fi. It's got a family area, so if you're taking your kids there,
the Wi-Fi thing. I will say this: the Wi-Fi thing is a very good idea. I don't know what it is, but whenever I go to football grounds, I can never ever get any reception or signal or internet or anything. So yeah, I'll give you that one. Wi-Fi is a good idea.
Yeah. So I mean,
where's the hang on? What about the trophy? Have they listed the trophy room? They built
I told you we'd have an unbiased view here. It's got four giant HD screens, which are the largest screens in the UK inside the stadium.
Is that on is that like on each?
So like, yeah. Well, I mean, it's round, so it doesn't have corners. But but I mean, I just think I know it sounds sort of small, but as football stadiums go, I mean, it's pretty state of the art. But with that comes a cost. So just to give you some details, so the original cost before construction was around 400 million. Then it emerged it had gone up to 750 million, but there's reports out now that are suggesting it's nearer 1 billion. So, I mean, it is costing a lot of money, but when it's done, it's going to be...
Does that include the cost to play at Wembley as well?
No, I think that's just cost of construction.
All right.
But to be honest, that's kind of my next point. So the other point I would make is that, again, as a Spurs fan, or as any football fan, the pinnacle was always playing at Wembley. Yeah. But for me, it's totally lost its gloss now. It's lost its shine. Yeah. It's almost lost its appeal. If we were to get to the Carabao Cup final, get into a cup final one. Well, exactly. But get into the cup final, but you're playing at a ground you play at every other week. It just doesn't feel the same.
No.
Obviously, there's a cost with playing at Wembley. And there's a hit financially the club are taking in gate receipts and stuff, because obviously they're not taking all of it. Well, I don't think they're taking all of it. So I think that there's two ways to look at it. I mean, I don't think many stadiums arrive on time or on budget. I know Wembley certainly didn't.
I was about to say, speak to the FA about that one. I'm sure they.
But I mean, I know one of your comments has been about why couldn't Spurs just say it wouldn't be ready this season?
Yeah,
but I think there was every intention it would be.
I was just saying, it was just a thought, wouldn't it? I don't know, from a Spurs point of view, I was just thinking maybe just to say, I know it's going to cost them more money, but start the new season at your new ground, not halfway through or 3/4 of the way through the season. It's just a thought. But I think the only, there's no doubt about it that it is probably going to be one of the best stadiums, in the UK, if not, quite a few other places abroad. But I just, the delay. I think delays are inevitable. There's not a lot they can really do about that. I think they've done quite well in how they've come out and said about. At least they're being on it. Well, as far as we're aware, they're being honest about it. They're not covering
Yeah,
stuff up. So
I think
you've
they're
got,
being honest, and I think they're in a tough. I think Daniel Levy is in a tough situation. I mean, because fans have bought season tickets, and there was such an anticipation that because I guess, well, from my view, because it was on the same site as you were seeing White Hart Lane being demolished, you were seeing the new stadium
you were
rise
seeing,
up,
was it the end
and
of last season? You were almost seeing. Was it end of? No, I can't remember now. When was it that they started leaving White Hart Lane, and you could almost see part of
year
it being
before year before last, when we played
yeah,
United last game of the season, pretty much a corner of the old
it's just
stadium
gone,
was
wasn't
missing.
it?
Yeah,
So,
but I think a lot of the frustration, like I said before, comes from the fact that it's there. The pitch is there, the lines are drawn, and you're just kind of thinking from a layman's perspective, and well, I don't know a lot about construction, but if you look at it, you think, well, it looks ready. Why is it not ready? Why are we not
yeah,
playing there? And I kind of think that depending on how Spurs get on in the next month or so, there's almost a part of me that says I don't want to go in this season. I don't want to go in with like 5 or 6 games of the season left. I
yeah,
think I'd
yeah,
rather, which may contradict what I said earlier, but if it gets that much further down the line, I think I would rather stay at Wembley and get the season done rather than having to adjust to playing in a new stadium. Um, whether results would, I'm thinking about it purely from the perspective, would results be affected by that? I think I'd rather stay at Wembley and then start in the new ground next season when you're starting from square one.
yeah.
But I just think it is frustrating.
That's what I was just thinking from a Spurs, from a Spurs fan. So did people buy season tickets in advance for the new, thinking that they'd be at the new stadium?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
so, were they
See,
just transferred over to Wembley, or were they given partial refunds? How was it?
I'm not sure what the official process was,
Okay.
but there are links on the website, for example, that if you've purchased tickets for games that were due
Certain
to be at the
games.
new
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that were due to be. So, for example, that I think originally it was Liverpool at home that
Yeah.
was meant to be in the new stadium. Then it was pushed back to Sunday's game. So the first game was meant to be United. But if fans have bought tickets for those games, you can get them refunded. Um, there's links on the website to do that. But I don't know. I guess that if you've bought a ticket for the new
Yeah.
ground and the match doesn't happen, you've got to buy a ticket for Wembley as well. So you've paid for 2 tickets. But
Mm.
it's just when we're in there and when we're playing in there every other week, all of this will be forgotten, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah. Definitely.
because it does look that good, that I think it will be forgotten. But I think it's not ideal. It's not ideal for the club at all. Everything does feel a little bit up in the
It's
air
just,
about it.
yeah. It, like you said, I think the main problem is the overall cost of it. It's obviously gone over budget. Probably most things do, but it doesn't help that you're having to pay the additional cost to play. At Wembley as well. So it's
Well, I
going to
think
be
if
good to see whether it will be Arsenal be your first go. It'll be good if it was Arsenal actually, but the thing is, wouldn't you rather play someone that you're more than likely going to beat?
yeah, but that's kind of
don't,
what I
I
mean.
don't want to
That's
lose.
what
You don't want to lose your
that's what
first game in your stadium,
that's
do
why
you?
there's a little bit of me that if we get to sort of mid-March and we're still not in there, I don't
Yeah.
know whether the club would make the decision just to
I
stay
think
at Wembley. 'Cause, I mean,
yeah,
it's
I
not
don't
as if
know.
anyone
Yeah,
else is in there.
they must be thinking if it's not done by this date, then we'll just next season we'll play there.
Yeah,
Start
I'd
there.
imagine so. Yeah, but that's my view on it. That's my view on it. I'd imagine that there's a lot of Spurs fans that feel the same. I'd imagine there's a lot that are a lot more annoyed about it. But you can't. I mean, as a fan, as frustrating as it is, there's not an awful lot you can do about it.
Travel wise, how far away is Wembley and White Hart Lane? How far away on the
mm, I,
north?
I'm not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's that far.
No.
I don't want to guess because there may be people that are listening that know the London transport system a lot
Yeah.
better than I do.
Just
And
thought maybe because at least it's not you're not playing outside of London.
well,
It could be.
we're not playing at MK Dons, which was one of the things.
Cool. Right.
Yeah, so that's my view on the new ground.
Cool. So well, next up.
Hold on, I've just googled it, Chris. I've just
Have you?
googled it for the purposes of the listener. Yeah, so it's about 30, just over 13 miles.
It's not too far then.
From Wembley to Tottenham. Yeah, just over 13 miles. Apologies for the delay there, but I thought I'd Google it for my own reference as well. Okay, so so that's the special topic this week around the new White Hart Lane. So teaser, Chris.
Oh, I'm so torn. So I've got. I don't know why I've got Seaman in my head. I could have sworn he retired before. He must have retired before then.
But did he?
So when they were invincible, I remember. Can you remember the save he made in the FA Cup against Sheffield United? And I swear that was 2002. And I think the invincible season was the year after. But then did Lehman come by then? And now I've got Manninger in my head, but I don't think he would. I don't think it would have been him.
This is so tense.
I don't know. I honestly don't. Oh no! Literally, my heart is saying one thing, my head is saying the other. Jesus.
I'm surprised you're making such a drama of it. I mean, if you read some of the other questions in this sports quiz, they're pretty basic.
Don't show me the sports quiz because it's going to send me down the wrong path. Right, I'm going to go. Oh, no. Oh, so did he play the whole? Did he?
There's not
an
an awful lot riding on this, Chris. If you do get it wrong.
Did they play every game? So they must have played. Did he play?
No, I don't think they played every game. I don't know exactly how many games this person played, but you could safely call them the number one choice in that season.
I think Seaman was the year before, and I got a feeling when I think Invincibles, I think Lehman, and I vaguely remember him being on Sky Sports once, and he was a pundit, and I think they put it on there. But then did Seaman because he was World Cup as well. Lehman.
Sometimes you got to go with your gut. Who are you going for?
I'm gonna go with Lehman. If you say Seaman, no, I'm gonna.
Well, David Seaman did go out on pretty much a high with Arsenal.
Oh, you're joking.
But it wasn't the invincible season, Chris. You're correct. After all that drama, you haven't won anything, I'm afraid.
No.
Apart from pride.
Yeah, I knew it was one of them. I swear, because Seaman would have been at the World Cup 2002. I can't imagine Lehman would have played in that either, because he had Oliver Kahn as well. So Well,
I
at
would
least I've got
tell you the other teaser question from the
yeah,
sports quiz that I was going to give you, but I'll save that for another week.
but yeah, that is that's all we've got time for. But obviously, you can get in touch with us through all our social medias through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you got any questions, just go through there, and we'll try and answer them. But yeah, what about anything else from you, Rich?
No, that's all from me.
So yeah, and that's all from me. So we will see you next week.
See you later.